Yes, well, I'd love to carry on with the discussion that we just left off, because what we're seeing there, there's no paint inside that building. The ceilings, walls are all done in natural materials. There's no chemicals, there's no poisons, there's certainly no cement, no acrylics, purely natural materials. And we are a lot further down the road than I'd imagined on what the swallows and the ants are doing. And I'll, at the end where I go over where Rockcade's going, I'll bring you up to date with where we are. I think I do have some insights into Rockcade's in an incredible position because we're mixing, we've got great chemists and scientists working in our laboratories and with our association in New Zealand with Brazil, some absolutely brilliant people who at first just thought I was mad, but now are starting to come and help us with their fantastic technical brains. And now first a bit about the Rockcade story, about me. I'm the sort of the managing director of Rockcade. I was the founder of the company. And Rockcade's a lot different, not only in our approach, but in how we, in learning to use and understand natural materials, we've greatly changed the way we did business. And a couple of things will give you some idea of that, like I'm the managing director, but MD at Rockcade doesn't stand for managing director. MD stands for meddling director. That's me. And so I meddle in all these things that help us with these products. And with the term, with the term R&D, it isn't R&D. It doesn't stand for research and development at Rockcade. It stands for reseek and develop. Rediscovering the ancient methods that were learned and based on natural principles and applying just enough modern technology. We don't shy away from modern technology in any way, or the modern world, just a lot of the bad parts of it. But you can use just enough modern technology to make these products work in the modern world. For example, as I'll say, we've got rid of all the poisons and there's certainly no cement in our natural materials. And I'm talking about someone who's probably, our company today in Australia will make probably 120 to 200 tonne of cement-based products. So, and that's another thing about my job as the managing director at Rockcade. You realise at Rockcade, my job as the managing director is to put our company out of business. I stood up at and told them that at our conference last year, and there's deathly silence. That's what I do. I'm going to replace the 150 to 160 to 200 tonne of product we're making every day with these inappropriate, stupid, ugly ways of doing things with things that look like you can build a building like that. For everyone, in all situations, and then we'll move out from the walls, back into the structure of the building, we can replace it. I mean, like with the strength, just addressing the strength of clay, my arm isn't very strong either, compared with concrete, and yet it works perfectly. It's very strong. It's been out in the weather for 3 weeks. There's different types of strength, and clay has that resonance that I doubt concrete has. So just keep that in mind as well. So, a bit about the Rockcade story, I suppose. I'm a solid plasterer. I'm going to say I am. I still do quite a bit of solid plastering. And I sort of gave up my contracting business in 1987, and that was the foundation of Rockcade. And Roger Oles from Christchurch came over, and he walked on to the last job, contract I was actually doing down in Noosa, and said, I want to bring the Rockcade. I'd been working on it for years, and I'd built a factory up in the backyard, and he brought the Rockcade to New Zealand in 1987, the same time I sort of gave up my contracting business and concentrated on just manufacturing the Rockcade. And this is, excuse me, Con Heppers, who joined us a couple of years later. So before 1990, we're still literally in the backyard shed. But at that stage, we're actually growing the business. We're doubling it every year. kept doing that. Because that's what business people do. We want to grow a business and expand, and both in Australia and New Zealand. And we grew the business, doubled it every year. Then we grew it about 40% a year up until about the turn of the century. And I remember I was talking to a banker, a financial fellow, and he's trying to give us some advice and that sort of thing. And when he saw how the business had grown, he said, "Doesn't that put severe pressure on your cash flow?" And I thought about it. Well, I didn't know anything about cash flow or anything like that. I'm a plasterer. I said, basically, yeah, we've had a cash flow crisis for about the last 15 years. And that's what we do. But then I started to think, and I thought, yeah, well, we've got this far. We can, open other branches, and we can do this, and make. The world doesn't really need more industrial processes and stuff like that. Well, what does the world need? And it'd be better if we had organisations where people can would work together more functionally, and they allow people to grow and their creativity to blossom. This is what we need. So we decided we'd make a business that was more friendly to the people within it, and hence it would be more friendly to the planet, and that's what we've found happens. It's the most amazing thing. Because that's what, me as the meddling director, I've found that most things, that managing directors do, don't need to be done at all. They hinder people, they kill creativity, the dead hand of bureaucracy. And another thing, just on bureaucracy, our first factory, I just built it, and then the council helped. The next one, I ran into trouble. And with all our natural materials and using them, when you run into bureaucracy, always sort of seek forgiveness, not permission. And it works much better. But I've modified that now. I've decided now the better way to begin is to proceed until apprehended. So, really what we discovered as firstly, being a sales type person and an entrepreneur, we're into everything, we make things grow, we've got big mouths, which we shoot off. And I said, right, well, Rockcoat's going to be the first fully sustainable and regenerative company by the year 2016. The company's had to take that because we're nowhere near it. But we said that, I said that, it was a throwaway line back in about the turn of the century. And it's amazing what just having that basic idea that this is what I want to achieve has done. Because then I start thinking about, this is the industry that gave us lead paints, mercurial fungicides, VOCs through everything, and I'm going to make it so that basically I take nothing from the biosphere, and I put nothing back into it. It's the most ridiculous thing to, like the cement is the other part of the industry, 11% of the greenhouse gases. So, totally ridiculous thing to say, but having said it, I started to think, how am I going to do this? And I've shot my mouth off, but it's a long way away, and I started to think, maybe the answer is right under my feet. Clay. And so, I'm sure we're up to. I don't really go on these sort of things much. There's a few pictures here, but this is the factory today. It's just incredible. But we came across this methodology that I'd like to talk a little bit about, reseek and develop. Often it's the old ways of doing things. So firstly, from biomimicry. But biomimicry, if you want some ideas how to apply them, particularly to build, look to our traditions. Quite often, we've lost, and it's really strongly, with my experience as a solid plasterer, because early in my trade, I heard from the old plasterers about, the pure lime plasters, and I was a contractor at a very young age, and I'd have clients, and I had these things, plasters made with cement, totally wrong stuff. It may be okay where you unique structural strengths. It's hopeless in plaster, and even worse is acrylics. And so I got the old formula, and with lime plasters you can get the old books, and you only have to go back a few hundred years, the old books, and I made their traditional lime plasters. I'll never forget the first time I trowelled one on. It was a bit stiff and hard to trowel on, but once I got on, I nearly cried. This is what people have been trying to get me to do. This just happens. It's like a dance. You can do it when you're using natural materials like clay and lime. You can't do this with cement. And then I realised that the way we had to come forward. Now, the things that we've had to learn, like in the last, we took that wrong turn, our whole industry, about 150 years ago, where we stopped using our traditional limes and clay plasters and started using Portland cement, and then went from there to acrylics and things like that, and just went back to this. And just to come back to them, and I've got a chart I'll show you in a minute, but just before that, it's not only our industry that lost this connection with our traditions. It's happened in every area of human life. Look at our agriculture. We don't know anymore how to grow our food without huge inputs of fossil fuels and chemical fertilisers. We don't know how to prepare our food. There's all these corals. When you make and understand how clay and earthen renders work, you don't need too many additives. And we're starting to understand it now scientifically, as well as just the bucket and stick type stuff that Rockcake originally did. In our medicine, all these drugs, and there's all these corollaries. In medicine, again, cement is like a drug. You put it in there to overcome poor formulation of your basic earth. You don't need it in there. And that's why I think the methodology that Rockcake's taken is really going to be so important to the rest of the world. Because the management system, and they'll stop doing all these things that management do. You should see the things that are happening at Rockcake. I've been fishing for the last 3 weeks. We had our record sales. So they get rid of the managers. They take huge amounts of money and do nothing. I love it. But it's not only in businesses either. You know, people from the universities can't laugh, and government agencies. That dead hand of bureaucracy that kills it. I've had university people, they've written up great reports on Rockcake. And they said, how do you get all this creativity and innovation? I thought about it. I said, how do you stop it? That's the question. My wife has a lot to do with the business as well, and Rockcake is a very, it's brought back the feminine side to business and to the nurturing and that sort of thing as well. And she took me off to listen to one of, the woman that was very big in business and that. And she pointed out, we're in a room of high-powered business people, and she said, how many people in this room can dance and sing? And there was 2 hands. She said, I asked that question a couple of weeks ago to a room full of 4 and 5-year-olds. She says there was only 2 hands that didn't go up. What's happened to us? What killed it? We need to bring this life back into our communities. That whole sense of community and family. This is the things we've lost. And it's not only that we don't have to lose it in modern industry. We can gain it. It's the way we work together. So applying this now back to our own products, it's the one on your left there that really, with our clay plasters now, our earthen renders, it's a biological material. We don't have anything in there that can't go back into the earth. So we take and clay, the most abundant material on earth, we take it from the earth, and it's not recycled. Once we've mixed it, put it on the walls, you can actually wet it, take it off the walls and move it to your next project. Not only that, you can upcycle. Do you realise repulverised clay plaster is one of the best additives to put in your new clay plaster for some reason? I don't really know why. Not only that, if we don't want to do that, we can take that and put it in the ground and grow our issue of cement, putting drugs in. We shouldn't put drugs into our children and our bodies, and we shouldn't put cement into our classes. It's fascinating, terrific the way I learned to do that, or to get myself off cement. This drug addict that's on cement, or I still make a lot of, I'm still a dealer, if you like. So, but a lot of our business principles, if you want to understand how Rockcoat works, get the permaculture too, and just read the introduction. It's only about 4 pages. That's what our business is based on. Now, in permaculture, a fellow came over from India to do a permaculture design course to take the knowledge back so that he could help. There's a lot of orphan children there, and the children from the untouchables, and no one will help them. And he wanted to make build an orphanage, and so to help fund that, he was going to teach people to build tandoori ovens and cooking tandoori's in them. And so he said, well, we'll get the workshop together and people will pay to come. I said, right, we better. He said, what? I said, what will we need? He said, oh, you need a big clay pot and some clay and straw and stuff. And I said, oh, what about cement? He said, oh, we could never afford cement. So I said, well, what would hold it together? He said, the clay. I said, well, where do you get this special clay from? As we were talking before. And he said, oh, probably down in the dam. I said, what? So I wheeled the wheelbarrow down in the dam and dug up the clay. Have I got this in the wrong place or something? Is it just the... Anyway, put up with it. Dug out some clay, wheeled it back up, got straw, and that workshop, and I've noticed it ever since. When I get my hands into clay, we do clay pizza ovens and all, and all these workshops are the same. It's so beautiful. It's not like building with concrete where everyone's rushing, and people had come to me when I first had the workshops for the clay ovens and things, say, oh, how are we going to finish, when are we... It doesn't matter. We'll do this and we'll put some here, and clay calms you down. It doesn't, and everyone had their hands in. If I had put drugs in there, put cement in there, how are you going to have your hands over? You burn them. And we did all the designs, and it was so beautiful. That was the first time I did it. I realised it's just poor formulation, laziness, stupidity that leads us to put those chemical things into our beautiful natural materials. So as things went along, I thought, well, how am I going to get all our products onto this? I said, I'd better have a look at the way the world looks at everything. Now, this is when I first did, I said, what? And I'm not that worried about natural materials, being a business person. Like, what's the best for me? I'm going to have to satisfy the bankers, I'm going to have to satisfy my customers, There's no one not satisfied. Now, look at this. I can make coatings basically out of anything along. I can make it out of epoxy resins and polyurethanes. I can make it out of acrylics. I can make it out of cement, lime, or clay. Which one should I choose? Well, let's just look at the cost. For our bean counters, the cost per tonne, $10,000 to $30,000. Well, I might keep a bit away from from those. The fact that they're poison, at this stage, is not really in my decision making. It's just too big. You come back to the acrylics or our acrylic resins and things like that. That was a step in the right direction because we could take the poisons and that out of it. But there's still $2,000 to $4,000. I think it's out on the road. $2,000 to $4,000 $3,000 a tonne. Then cement, it might be cheap to buy, but it's incredibly expensive for the environment. Then we get to lime. It's much more economic. And then down to clay. Well, it's cheaper. $40 a tonne. And you know the difference in price, why this difference in price? It's essentially the cost of energy. As I think Bruce was alluding to last night. It's energy is the thing that we pay for. And then you look at it in other areas. How long have these things been used? Polyurethanes and things like that have been used for 50 years. That's not a long time. When you get back into the how long. Lime, humans have been building buildings with it for thousands of years, probably 6,000 to 10,000 years, and nature's been building structures with it for millions of years. And clay, it's the same thing. Thousands of years of experience. What do we need to produce it? Here's where lime really is. I'll never use lime where I can use clay. And we're learning to use clay in more and more places. Because as other people have mentioned as well, it's quite an energy-intensive process still that we use to make lime. It's still a beautiful material to live in. See, of all those things I can choose to base my business on and make my coatings out of, there's only two, these two in the green, that nature ever uses to have living things in. Only lime and clay. They're the things that they're biophilic. They're lifelike. And clay is definitely the best of all. It's the most, and we're learning, as if we can get as smart as the ants, which that's what Rockcoat's working on now, we can actually do that. And then you look at the life supporting, the health, and finally, something we've lost in the modern world is beauty. Whether it's in the finishes of a wall, or the elegance of a solution to a structural problem, is the beauty. But rock is very much about finding that elegant solution, a beautiful solution. And so, with clay is really that answer is right under our feet. And now we're finding more and more. If you go back to that first slide, all those walls are finished with clay. Now, not only people want, no poisons or zero VOC coatings, they say there's no chemicals in there whatsoever. There's no, you can eat it. You can grow your food out of it. And then they say, well, what about performance? And we've been at this for years now. And in our design centre on the Gold Coast, people used to come and rub their hands on the clay walls and say, oh, does it mark? I'd say, look, you're about the 1,000th person that's rubbed their hand over it. And I didn't know it first, and then I kept more and more, and finally we found it's like our skin again. You can wash your skin and you can wash clay. And the clay, why a clay works, it's like a particle. Part of the answer to what we're talking about before. A clay particle in shape is not unlike that. So if I can drive out all the moisture, and it's, a friend there had the one correct additive. You won't find the one correct additive. As we change clays, it's like a dance. You move a little bit, and your additive mix, and it's not actually, the biggest breakthrough I have with formulating clay is it's not clay that's holding it together. That's why our renders are called earthen renders. It's the whole, you must get that whole mix right. You've got to have the clay particles, the silt particles, the sand particles, and then how to get that clay to work is the main thing. And we share all this knowledge as well. We don't hold this to ourselves. We've got it on our website, we've got a thing on the traditional arts, where everything that we've learned about clay, geopolymers, we make available to everyone. This is how we'll learn. This is how information and innovation happens. All these people with their patents and things closing it up, it'll all die. There's companies like Rockcoat that will grow because we give it away, and so much comes back, much more than I can ever use, I can tell you now. And we've done so well with that philosophy. So this is in a home that we did on the Gold Coast, but the woman was quite sick, the people in the building. And there was mould growing, and that's going to be one of the huge things that come up in the future is the problems of toxic mould in buildings. And it comes about because of the moisture. And it's like, how would you live in a plastic bag? It won't work. So when we put the clay through the whole house, the mould doesn't appear anymore. The older lady, she's in the late 90s, and she's got a new lease of life. It loves life and supports life. And here's a great little project we did for my mum. We call it the Earthen Cottage, and it's a An idea that does give us some indication of how we can use natural materials for, you know, in a more economical housing. This is just a locally sourced plantation timber frame with bamboo lath nailed on both sides and then plastered with our earthen render with chaff. Now you get the chaff from the feed factory, mix it in and trowel it on. It was such a beautiful process to do. And I heard someone who was kissing the floors earlier. Well, we've got our own story about this place here. So, did you see the external walls? They're all just you know, mud, and then with lime plaster on the outside. Now, the internal walls you see here, they're just polished plaster. It's a product we learned from the Japanese called otsumiyagi. We've got some out there at the back that people can play with. It's a polished clay and lime plaster. And this house, it's amazing when you think about sustainability and how it, all these modern things and the high-tech stuff you've got to have to build a sustainable home. Well, we're, for our work that we've done with the environment, there's a local environmental group and they give out the Glossy Awards. It's for the gloss of the black cockatoo. And we're in the Hall of Fame for, you know, work with the local environment and environmental groups. And so we put this house forward just as an example of what people from the Hall of Fame do. And the judges read it and they said, no, we've got to have a category for this. Because they looked at all the things. They said it's got veggie gardens. Mum wouldn't have a house without a veggie garden. She's 83, that's what keeps her going. She's still out there. It wasn't something that I did to get environmental ticks or anything. Then they said, oh, now you've got the habitat and biodiversity. She's got a duck pond and a bird feeder and frog pond. She does all that because all these things that she just did, that people have done, that we've lost. We've got to get them back again. And so they had it on an open day one day for people to come around and have a look. And this a lady from Go Mango Architects came with her daughter and her mother. So we had the three generations came to visit and they walked into the room. And these walls are polished, they're beautiful. There's no paint in there. Only a bit of our eco-style paint on the reclaimed doors and things. And the daughter, we've seen her since she did different permaculture things, and now she's about this height. She came into the bedroom, and Mum was talking to her mother and the grandmother, and this girl was actually hugging the walls. I've never seen anyone do that to a concrete wall. I've never seen anyone put their hand over a concrete wall and rub it. I've seen people, I know myself, I've had the plaster plate, and I'd walk away from a concrete wall. It repels clay. Now, just the performance of clay as well in those walls, in everywhere we've used it now, we've found, and in some hotels, you know, commercial developments we've got later, it's saving them money. They don't have to, it's so much easier to maintain. But I know, I just kept getting this question about, you know, how does it clean, all this sort of stuff. And I looked at unbelievably. I was down at another time I was going fishing and they had a workshop on at Byron Bay at the Real Earth Coating. And so I had to go in there on the way down and give a bit of a presentation to some of the local tradesmen. And the lady who runs that business is a real feisty little lady, Deb, and no one crosses Deb. She might be environmentally friendly, but you don't want to cross her. But anyway, the people there, they said, oh, how about cleaning? How would you get marks off the wall? Oh, what about if you got a pen on? And this whole workshop area had been done with that same product, our decor, our earthen plaster. So I looked around and I picked up a pen. I walked over the wall and scribbled on the wall. It was deathly silent. Scribbling on dead walls. As I did it, I said, I hope this works. So I put the pen down, went over, because it was an area where they do workshops and things, and got a sponge, went back over, cleaned it off the wall, came off perfectly. And we found it's just like taking that. If I go on myself with Biro, I can take it off. You can't do that with modern materials. After a lot of time, you can just you know, keep rebuilding. And I'm still alive to tell the tale. here's another fantastic thing that we started. We realised we had to, part of the school, Graham, I think if we have our, we're quite willing to make this available to you, all our notes and process of how to train people in natural causes. We've got a lot of information that you're perfectly welcome to. It's been so fantastic. Shannon here was in one of our early workshops, one of our solid plasterers, and he comes to the workshop where we're doing, excuse me. Oh, thank you, yeah. Polished plasters and recreating Tadillac types of finishes. And I had a bit of a mould where I was showing some scrappiato. He draws in a cancer sleeve. Like that. Beautiful. Does the scrappiato. And the talent that was Shannon, he almost has rock star status in Noosa at the moment for the work that he's done. Absolutely beautiful work in people's homes and businesses. You look, that's the fellow in Melbourne, he's changed his whole business and he's just promoting natural materials now. We've got this showroom in the middle. That was the most amazing thing. A fellow named Ray Hall, always been one of our applicators up in the town called Bundaberg, hardly the centre of style and sophistication. And next thing, he came and he's always a bit of trouble. Ray, he's got that in your ear over things and that sort of thing. And we did the course on natural materials, and he was a bit quieter but still very insistent. And a couple of weeks later, one of our fellows, Nick, says, "Oh, Ray's wants to know it's very important that you're in Bundaberg on this set day." It's only about a month later from the workshop. He said, "You've got to make sure that you're available first, and he'll set the date because he's got the mayor coming in." He opened this showroom. He went home after the workshop, put off his clothes, gave them to his other mate that had come to the workshop. Turned his whole life upside down. Now he only does natural materials. It was just incredible. And we see this again and again from the people that have attended the workshops, and it's changed their lives. And now we've got a database of well over 100, I think, Tony, it's the best close to 200 people. Our workshops are now booked out. They're 2 or 3 months ahead. And we've learned so much about how to live them and how to then get people so that they can use the information. It's the most fantastic thing. I love our workshops. So if we can be of help in any way there, certainly. And we'd actually like to pass it on to others, actually. I don't think it's really what our mission is. We need to get back to the manufacturing and R&D, I suppose. Yeah, so just some of the challenges that face natural building today. Because we get involved quite early in all the different types, from straw bale, hemp, brand earth, all the different types of building. And often what I see in the straw bale is the straw bales can come up so quickly. The best way to open Australia is usually roof on first, all the straw naked up. Then it can be anything from months to years with the plastering process. And it's not so much the speed of getting it on the walls, the speed of just processing that clay and sand. And so I think mechanising that process is something that Rockcape has lived through in the normal rendering industry, and we can have a lot to do there. Another thing is that... Great, I'll get there. So here's the hotel. It's one of the best boutique hotel in Australia, and it's all our clay all through it. So it's not and then there's homes, although one home, the most expensive home in Australia, all the walls are done in clay, some of them 4 inches thick. You couldn't do it with modern cement rendering. And so natural materials, and our business is doubling in natural materials every year, similar to Rockcape did in the early years. And so I am on the way to putting Rockcape out of business and having only with our natural materials. Now here, oops. Yeah, now a great inspiration to us has been Natural Capitalism, the book by Armoury and Hunter Lovers and Paul Hawken. I've met all those people now, and this passage comes from this, and this is what we base our whole philosophy on natural building. Our mission is to create buildings that celebrate life over sterility, restraint over extravagance, beauty over ordinance. Natural buildings do not poison the air with fumes, nor the soul with artificiality. Instead, they create delight when entered, serenity and health when occupied, and regret when departed. They grow organically in and from their place, integrating people with the rest of the natural world, do no harm to their occupants or the earth, foster more diverse and abundant life than they borrow, take less than they give back. Achieving this hand in hand with functionality and profitability requires a level of design and integration that is not merely a technical task, but an aesthetic and spiritual challenge. And that's my challenge